You won't believe what's headed our way this week, folks. We're looking at one of the wildest weather patterns I've seen in years. While some of you will be reaching for your winter coats, others might be turning on the air conditioning. Yes, you heard that right. In February. Now, here's the thing. This isn't your typical winter week. We've got a powerful Arctic blast sweeping down through the East Coast and the Northeast. And at the same time, record-breaking heat building out west. Stick with me for the next few minutes, and I'll break it all down. I'll tell you exactly what to expect in your area this week. Let's start with what's happening right now across the country. If you're anywhere from Ohio through Pennsylvania, down to the Carolinas, bundle up tonight. Temperatures are about to drop like a rock this weekend. We're talking 40 degrees in just 24 hours. Now, I remember back in '85 when we had a drop like this. My dad always said, when the air turns sharp, old man winter means business. And boy, does he mean business. Here's what's really interesting about this pattern, folks. We've got this Arctic air mass building up in Canada. It's like a big refrigerator door just opened up, and all that cold air is rushing down into the eastern United States. By Saturday morning, if you're in Pennsylvania, Maryland, or even down to South Carolina, you'll be waking up to temperatures 30 degrees below normal. Now that's cold, my friends. But here's where it gets really fascinating. While the East is freezing, the West is heating up big time. Places like Iowa, Nebraska, and South Dakota, they're looking at temperatures almost 40 degrees above average. That's like going from January straight to April. My sister lives in Des Moines, and she called me yesterday. She said, I don't know whether to plant tulips or build a snowman. I had to laugh at that. Now, here's something you need to know about this Arctic blast. It's not just bringing cold air. We're talking about snow, folks. Heavy snow in some spots. The Appalachian Mountains could see up to a foot. Areas around Pittsburgh, 4 to 5 inches easy. And when you combine that snow with winds up to 40 miles per hour, well, that's when things get dangerous. Now, I promised you something at the 5-minute mark. Here's what you need to remember. This weather pattern is rare. For February, very rare. We don't see these kinds of extremes happening at the same time very often. And it's going to affect almost everyone in the country in one way or another. Let me break down the timeline for you, nice and simple. Tonight and tomorrow, that's Friday, the Arctic blast arrives. If you're in the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, or anywhere in the Northeast, make sure your pipes are protected tonight. Saturday and Sunday, that's when the cold really settles in. Some areas will see sub-zero temperatures with wind chill. Not the kind of weather you want to be outside in for long. My neighbor Bob, the one who jogs every morning, even he's moving his run indoors this weekend. And Bob never skips his run. Now here's where things get interesting for next week. By Monday and Tuesday, that Arctic air starts to move offshore. And the warmth that's been building out west, it's going to spread across the central United States. Des Moines could hit 70 degrees on Monday. 70 degrees in February. That's the kind of temperature that breaks records, folks. Even areas like Raleigh, North Carolina, that just got several inches of snow. A few days ago, they'll be looking at temperatures near 67 degrees. That snow's going to melt faster than ice cream in July. All right, now let me give you the practical advice you need. This is the stuff that'll help you get through this week safely. First things first, if you're upside in the path of this Arctic blast, and that's anywhere from Ohio to Maine, down through the Carolinas, here's what you need to do tonight. Step 1, check your furnace or heating system. Make sure it's running properly before the cold hits. The last thing you want is your heat going out Saturday morning. Step 2, protect those pipes, especially in the basement or any unheated areas. Let your faucets drip just a little bit overnight Saturday. A little water bill is nothing compared to fixing burst pipes. Believe me, I learned that lesson the hard way back in Nidiosex. Step 3, if you need to travel this weekend, especially Saturday or Sunday, pack an emergency kit in your car. Blankets, water, some snacks, a flashlight. Those winds could create blowing snow conditions. Visibility might drop to almost nothing in some areas. Now, if you're in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or New York, pay special attention here. You folks already have over a foot of snow on the ground from that last storm. This new snow, even just 2 or 3 inches, combined with those high winds, could create blizzard-like conditions. If you don't absolutely have to go out Saturday, stay home, stay warm, maybe catch up on that book you've been meaning to read. Now, for those of you out west and in the Central Plains, you've got a different situation. This warm spell is great for getting outside, but there's something to watch for. When you get these big temperature swings in February, it can set the stage for severe weather. By the middle of next week, we could see a storm system developing over the Rockies. That could bring severe thunderstorms to the southern plains. Areas like Kansas, Arkansas, maybe even Tennessee. Now, it's too early to say exactly what'll happen, but if you're in those areas, keep an eye on the forecast as we head into next week. Here's something else that's really unusual this year. Salt Lake City normally gets over 50 inches of snow by this time of year. This year, they've had less than an inch. Meanwhile, parts of Florida, Point Dash is red. Yes, Florida have seen over an inch of snow this winter. Mother Nature sure has a sense of humor this year, doesn't she? The good news for our friends out west, though, is that snow is finally on the way. Tuesday and Wednesday next week should bring snow to the Rockies and along the West Coast. Great news if you're a skier or snowboarder. Those slopes have been looking pretty bare. Now, let's talk about what happens later in the month. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but there are signs pointing to another Arctic blast. In the 3rd week of February, this one could be more widespread, affecting more of the country. We'll keep a close eye on that as we get closer. But for now, let's focus on getting through this week safely. Let me give you a quick recap of the key points. Number 1, Arctic blast hits tonight and tomorrow for the East Coast, Ohio Valley, and Northeast. Temperatures will drop 40 degrees in some locations. Number 2, heavy snow possible in the Appalachians, with blowing snow creating dangerous conditions across Pennsylvania and New York. Number 3, record-breaking warmth building across the West and Central Plains. Some areas could hit 70 degrees by Monday. This is one of the most dramatic weather patterns we've seen in quite some time. It reminds me why I love what I do, folks. Mother Nature never fails to keep us on our toes. Now, I'll be keeping a close watch on all of this over the weekend, and I'll have another update for you, Sunday or Monday, on how things develop, especially that potential storm system for the middle of next week. Remember, the weather affects all of us differently. Check in on your neighbors, especially the elderly folks in your community. A quick phone call or a knock on the door can make all the difference. When it's this cold, we're all in this together, as my grandmother used to say. And she lived through some tough winters herself. She always had a pot of soup on the stove and extra blankets for anyone who needed them. That's the spirit we need right now. So stay warm if you're in the cold zone. Enjoy the sunshine if you're in the warm zone. And wherever you are, stay safe out there, folks. Take care of yourselves and each other. I'll see you in the next forecast. Until then, be well.